Carrie Mendes. I'm the wellness coordinator here, and I've recently gotten my master's in nutrition. So added to my things that I bring to you guys will be nutrition tidbits like this presentation here. I recently attended an ICAA conference. ICAA is the International Council on Active Aging. So they are a nationwide organization. It was a very large event. There were over 800 attendees, and they're all in some facet of senior care. So CCRCs like our own, retirement communities, senior centers, and things like that. So it was a lot of information, a lot of networking, but they sent out a request for speakers for next year. So I am in the process of submitting my information under the physical fitness portion to see if they can set me to be a speaker next year. So yeah, that's exciting, right? So what we've all been waiting for, the importance of protein intake for older adults. If there's not anyone that fits that, you can leave now. Enhancing health and well-being through nutrition. What is protein? Protein is a macronutrient made up of amino acids. Amino acids are organic compounds that serve as the building blocks for protein. So your amino acids come together in the right formula, and those make the proteins that your body needs. They're essential for structure and function of human cells, tissues, and organs. So really important stuff. Protein is essential for maintaining muscle mass, bone health, and immune function. As we age, our bodies undergo various physiological changes that can impact our health and nutritional needs. Protein plays a crucial role in maintaining muscle mass, supporting immune function, and promoting overall well-being. Today we'll explore why protein is particularly important for older adults, because the needs change as you move through the continuum of life. The amount that a child needs is different than a teen needs, is different than an older adult needs. By the end of this presentation, I hope to equip you with valuable insight that's actionable, that you can take into your everyday life and improve your diet the minute you walk out this door. Good stuff, right? So let's get started. Sarcopenia, that is an S word. That's a bad word. It's got more than 4 letters, but it's some nasty stuff. It is the age-related loss of muscle mass and strength. The research shows as you lose muscle mass, you also lose bone density. The inverse is also true. If you increase muscle mass, you increase bone density. Because what's needed to increase muscle mass? Skeletal loading, lifting weights, strength training. So as you strength train, you increase your muscle mass and your bone density. So good stuff. Both of those things need protein. All right, so sarcopenia affects nearly 10% of adults over 60 and 50% by age 80. So I probably got some going on in here. It's silent, but it's not good. Protein intake and strength training are crucial to slow down muscle deterioration. Strengthening bones with protein. Protein supports calcium absorption and bone density. Vitamin D and calcium also play a role in that, but that's a whole nother presentation. But they do work in coordination with one another. Reduced bone mass increases the risk of fractures and osteoporosis. And a balanced diet with adequate protein is one of your best defenses in that regard. I pulled a research article. In fact, it was one of the ones for this presentation, and it states, it's from Newsom and Connell, declines in skeletal muscle mass and strength are major contributors to increased mortality, morbidity, and reduced quality of life. That's pretty powerful stuff. They also have here that with proper consumption, which we'll talk into in a minute about how much, because everybody wants to know how much do I need, right? So dietary protein combined with twice weekly progressive resistance training reduces age-related muscle mass loss. That's pretty powerful. Those are things that you ingest and that you do. So both of them are within your control to change, to improve, right? Boosting immunity. I don't know if I touched on that on the other slide, but this is another thing that adequate protein intake does, is it boosts your immunity. Protein aids in the production of antibodies and immune cells. So some people that suffer, they say, I have a bad immune system, are probably protein deficient as well. So increasing that protein can help your body have the building blocks that it needs to improve your immunity. Older people are more susceptible to infections, and I can't read that from here. A strong immune system is critical. I'm aging by the minute here, I'm telling you. Recommended intake is going to be 1 to 1.2 grams of protein. And there's some variation. If you're a very active person, it may be even higher than that. 1.3 to 1.5 per kilograms of weight. So you take your body weight, divide it by 2.2. That gives you your weight in kilograms. So you didn't know this was a math class, right? And then multiply that. So for an example, a 154-pound individual needs 70 to 84 grams of protein daily. So body weight divided by 2.2 multiplied by 1.2 or 1, depending on which one you're striving for. Yeah, where are we going to get this protein? Yes, ma'am?
Is that on the weight that you want to be or the weight
That's a great question, and the answer is ideal body weight. Yeah. Protein-rich foods. Where are we going to get this protein? I know some people don't eat animal sources, and that's okay. It's a little more complicated when you're trying to get it just from plant sources because plants don't contain complete proteins, and you have to mix things together to get everything that you need. With animal sources, it's not that way. So eggs, which we have over here, fish, poultry, lean meat, dairy. Plant sources, you're looking at beans, lentils, tofu, nuts, seeds, whole grains. Notice peanut butter's not on that list. Sorry, peanut butter has trace protein, but it has a lot more fat in it than it has anything. And most of your peanut butters today, if you look at that list of ingredients, that's a whole nother presentation. There are places that you can get just the nuts and they smash it down into a paste. That's better. Costco even sells a brand that it's literally 4 ingredients. Now, when you open the peanut butter, it looks different because it's not light and fluffy and it doesn't have all the condensers and preservatives and all the stuff in it that makes it look like that, but it's a lot healthier choice. But still, it's a source of fat that has trace protein, not the other way around. So I know that's a sad moment. I've actually been asked that question a couple times prior to today, so I was prepared. Protein sources also can be affected by difficulties you might have in chewing or swallowing, particularly as we age. Those are some of the things that might be barriers to eating certain types of protein. Obviously, a senior with dentures isn't going to sit down and start munching on beef jerky. But there are other choices. I have some things on the table over here I'll go over with you as we get closer to the end of the presentation. But what we really want to do is build awareness. Same thing with the hydration, right? If you're not even aware of it, then you're obviously not going to improve it. If you're aware of it, and then you can start making choices to improve, increase, and do those types of things. So ensuring adequate protein intake is essential, especially for seniors, as we talked about, to maintain muscle mass, bone health, and immune function. You want to include protein in every meal. Survey says, I asked a few random people whose names I won't mention, what do you have for breakfast? And I heard a lot of carbohydrates and not any protein from those people that I've asked. So protein is a macronutrient. There are 3 macronutrients: protein, carbohydrate, and fat. So when you're eating something, it's one of those 3 or a mix of those 3. Starting your day off with a straight carbohydrate will send your blood sugar through the roof. And then you stay in a storage state for the rest of the day, pretty much. So insulin's high, storing fat, not tapping into stored fat, and my body is going to leach from my muscles the proteins that it needs because it doesn't have the building blocks that it needs. It will just take it from wherever it can. And this is part of the reason that we get into the muscle loss. Opt for high protein snacks. Greek yogurt, not the sweetened kind, and the Dannon with the 28 grams of sugar. Plain Greek yogurt. Now, you can put blueberries in it, or you can put some type of fresh fruit in it to make it more palatable, because the protein slows the absorption rate of the sugar, so you don't get that same insulin response. Make sense? Cottage cheese, which we have over here, great source of protein, hard-boiled eggs, and then you can get into things like protein bars. some of which are better than others. I have a sample over here that has 4 or 5 ingredients. And it's a plant-based protein, it just happens to be, but they're soft too, so you can chew them easily. Again, we get back to the palatability. If it's a protein bar and it's chewy and hard and you can't eat it, that's not gonna do you a lot of good. Also too, if it's loaded with things that we don't want to be eating, which we'll get into that. Choose protein-rich breakfast options, scrambled eggs, any type of eggs. Smoothies with protein powder, milk, fruits. This says oatmeal. I'm not an oatmeal person. I don't advocate oatmeal, but back to the Greek yogurt with seeds. Chia seeds are actually loaded in protein. If you can tolerate those, they're a little, I don't know, rough to chew, and if you had dentures, you probably wouldn't want to, but they're a great source of protein that you could just add on top of cottage cheese or something like that. If you have specific dietary needs, like someone asked me, what about someone that has kidney problems? Consult your physician. I'm not a physician, I'm not an RD. I make suggestions and things that are general to the general population. But I would say to that, you still need protein. And we had talked about branched chain amino acids being the building blocks for protein. There are supplements that are solely that. So someone that's fasting or someone that doesn't want to gain weight or want all the extra calories, it's like 2 calories per serving, and it's the equivalent of 30 grams of chicken, 25 grams of beef, and I think it's 12 grams of eggs in a serving. And what you do is you put that into your body, it's 99% bioavailable, and your body turns it into whatever proteins it needs. So it stops that muscle wasting because you're putting in what the body needs. It's perfect aminos, and I'll show you those when we're done here. Yeah, so if you guys want to hang out, I'll give you all that information. I kind of digress, but that's okay. Challenging things that you might run into. I know we talked about chewing difficulties, but loss of appetite. As we get older, sometimes we just don't have an appetite. But finding things that are palatable, finding a supplement, something like this. Someone asked about Ensure, not on my list of approved things. Loaded with sugar, list of ingredients this long. You would be better off to find a protein like this Naked Pea, which is a plant protein. They have a Naked Whey also. It's literally just that. Doesn't taste great, I'll be honest, but if you're taking it in, think about why you're taking it in, to serve a purpose, not to be tasty, right? We can have an open forum here discussion, how about that? I've never given this presentation, I made it at my desk, so having a timeline to see how long it goes is a good thing. You want a microphone?
No.
Okay.
You said earlier you don't advocate for oatmeal.
Yes.
Why? You don't like it, or?
It's not my personal palate that I don't like about it, it's that it is a carbohydrate and it spikes the blood sugar right off the get-go. That's why, yes. Now, oatmeal has a health halo, right? We've been told for years, oatmeal, it's a great breakfast, oatmeal, and it isn't. Because it's not giving your body any of the building blocks that it needs other than carbohydrate. Now, if you were gonna go run a marathon first thing in the morning, and you need to be fueled up for the next 3 hours of activity, then have some oatmeal. But aside from that, and it's tummy warming and all that, right? But if you're going to eat oatmeal, you need to have that with a protein source. It needs to be protein source, the largest portion, and then a little bit of oatmeal.
What if you eat oatmeal later in the day?
Oh.
After eating with your proteins, you have proteins instead of eating meals.
Well, again, every meal we want to consume some sort of protein, and we want the protein to be the majority. And later in the evening, if you're eating carbohydrates, what are you going to do for the next 3 hours? Because you got to think about the food that we ingest is to fuel the next 3 to 4 hours of activity, right? So when you start thinking about food as fuel, what are you going to do for the next 3 hours? And if that answer is sit on the couch, go to bed, then you don't really need any carbohydrates in that meal. There are no essential carbohydrates. I know that's kind of mind-numbing, but there are not. Yes?
So I've seen recipes for what they call savory oatmeals. Instead of adding fruits and sugars and honey or maple syrup, which I like, you add bacon bits or an egg or something else that is protein related to it.
Okay. To that, I would say still the majority of that meal is going to be very high in carbohydrates and very low in protein. And you want that ratio to be different. Anyone?
Well, this is really quick. I have a friend who's decided that she's going to eat nothing but protein.
Okay.
That's all she eats. She doesn't eat any fiber, any kind of essential carbohydrate. So what would you say to that person to convince them that that's probably not the best way to live? And you're smiling. Don't tell me that's what you do.
It's not, but that sounds like a typical carnivore diet, and there's a lot of research coming out. There is nothing that a plant has that you can't get from meat. There are things that meat has that you can't get from a plant. That's why you have to mix different plants and beans and seeds together when you're a vegan or a vegetarian to get to the proteins that you need. So the carnivore diet has showed reduced overall inflammation, reduced overall body weight, reduced blood sugar levels. So there's a lot of research to show that that is a lot more in line with the way that our genetics and DNA are designed to eat.
Okay, no greens, no healthy vegetables, and she's still gonna get everything she needs from just meat.
100%.
100% meat.
Yes.
That's reassuring.
Now again, I'm not advocating that you guys go on a carnivore diet tomorrow either, but I'm just telling you what the research says about that particular diet is that there's no incidence of diabetes, there's no incidence of heart disease, there's no incidence of anything that's inflammation related. No obesity. Yeah. So where did our DNA come from, and have we evolved to eating all this sugar and all this processed food? And the answer is no, we haven't, and that's why we're the sickest nation around. You know, medical costs are through the roof, pharmaceutical companies are making tons of money, and people are sicker than ever. They're just living longer, but they're living sick.
But the cavemen did eat plants.
Yeah.
Whatever they could find, it was growing. They ate anything that was edible, so it wasn't.
I would recommend that person, and part of the carnivore diet is actually fruit. Blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, because they have the polyphenols and all those types of things, and they have the fiber. But they don't have to eat plants. Well, I guess a blueberry's a plant. Right. But we're like, oh, broccoli, it's so healthy. And the reality is, you don't have to have it. Your body can survive just fine with a meat-based diet. Not recommending that, just saying that's the research.
Well, would you feel comfortable telling us what your diet is?
I try to eat whole foods, whole healthy foods, something that has the less amount of ingredients that it has, the closer to the ground it is, the closer to the cattle or whatever it is that you're eating it is, the healthier it's going to be. So we try to focus on grass-fed beefs, grass-fed meats, free-range eggs, and things that my son hates me right now. He's 14. Our pantry, when you open it up, it's kind of sad. It's a little sad because it doesn't have all the crap, all the dyes and colorants and this and that. And his ADHD is more under control now than it's ever been. So, yes, I'm gonna just make my way this direction. Did you have something real quick before I go over there?
I just wondered about the necessity of buying organic fruits and vegetables over regular.
I would say to that, one place, if you're gonna buy organic, would be the fruit that you're gonna eat the skin of.
Right.
So, are you gonna eat the skin? And also, with your fruit, what I do at home, what I would recommend to you, and I didn't always do this, this is like fairly new. Take it in water, put some apple cider vinegar in there, and let it soak for about 30 to 45 seconds. Swish it all around, rinse it out, dry it, and then put it back in the refrigerator. Blueberries, strawberries, yes. You would be shocked if you looked under, yes. But a banana, if you're not going to eat the skin, that's probably a place you don't have to go organic. But certainly if you're going to eat the skin, organic is the best way because it's not covered in pesticides.
And apples are one of the worst for pesticides.
Absolutely the worst, yes. Coming over here, yes.
Can I put my peanut butter in my Greek yogurt?
What does your peanut butter have in it?
It's almost empty.
Yeah, okay. Yes, you can put some peanut butter in the Greek yogurt to flavor it because still that combination is majority protein and a little bit of fat, right? So
The real question is, how do you address a vegetarian? What would you say to a vegetarian when this is, the protein is so important?
I would say they definitely need to do some research and make sure that they're combining the right types of things, because I see vegetarians, not so much vegans, but vegetarians that eat nothing but potatoes and starches, and that's not a healthy diet. So they're not focusing on what combination, a lot of lentils, a lot of seeds, chia seeds, things like this that are actually good sources of protein, versus just not eating meat and eating junky carbohydrates. Does that make sense? Did I answer your question? Yeah.
You talk about the differences in types of protein. For instance, whey isolate versus whey. Collagen peptides, bone broth, are all proteins equal?
All proteins are not equal, and they vary, and I have a chart. If you want that, I'd be glad to give it to you. Anybody else that might be interested, I can make it available to you. I didn't want this to be like a science lesson, but different proteins have different bioavailability. Whey protein that you buy in a tub, pretty low on the bioavailability. It tells you 30 grams per serving, your body may be getting 10 out of that. Bone broth, much better, much higher. The branched chain amino acids that I mentioned are 99% bioavailable. They are by far the best route to go because you're giving your body the building blocks and then it creates from that what it needs. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, some of the labels will say contains all 7 essential amino acids or something to that effect.
Sure.
So, it's kind of hard to navigate what protein to eat unless we're eating an egg.
Right. And it is, and the marketing is that way for a reason. If the marketing companies and the supplement companies, you have a whole cabinet full of a million things, and that's not necessary. There's research that shows that the collagen supplement is not anything that the body actually utilizes, and it's not very beneficial for anything. It'd be nice if it was, right? Like I'm just going to take collagen and my skin's going to be young again, but the research out there, if you look, it doesn't really do anything. Branched chain amino acids, your body will make the proteins that it needs out of that. That's your much better bet. And if it's something that's got whey protein and contains, I would be curious as to what is the percentage, what is the ratio, because that matters also. So, if you have a question about a particular product, I'd be love to help you navigate that. Just let me know. I'm gonna get over there.
I understand you've got those products, but I was wondering about like the Atkins products that are out there. I mean, Atkins has been around forever, and it seems like that's kind of what you're advocating some. But are those products, if we could just go pick them up at Walmart, are those viable products?
I would have to look at that label, and honestly, I don't know. I'm not familiar with their stuff, but I understand what the Atkins diet is. It's the removal of processed carbohydrates. So the theory is good. What their products actually contain, I'm not sure. But I would look into that for you if you'd like me to. Yeah.
Does ingestion of high cholesterol products like eggs raise your cholesterol?
Now this is a whole nother lecture, but I'm just gonna give you a tidbit. And if you want to come to my desk, I'll give you the research behind that. There's a whole new slew of research out there, and this is scientific. 15% of the cholesterol in your blood comes from what you eat. You could eat no cholesterol and you would only affect your cholesterol by 15%. Because the rest of it's made by your liver. So then the question is, why is the liver making so much cholesterol? Used to be 300 was an acceptable cholesterol. Today, they don't want it over, 180, 120? But if you look at the prescription of statin drugs from back when it was 300 to they keep pushing it down, the sale of statin drugs has gone way up. And the research, if you look, heart incidents and the things that it's supposed to prevent have gone up too. They haven't gone down. So statins have lowered the cholesterol, but it hasn't lowered the incidence of heart incidents. And if you eat cholesterol that way, the way it's meant to be, the way that nature meant it to be, it's a lot more beneficial to you. And again, just 15% is affected by your diet. 85% of your brain is cholesterol. People with lower cholesterol have more incidence of dementia-related diseases.
Say that again, so.
People with lower cholesterol numbers have higher incidence of dementia-related diseases. The neurological pathways in your brain, the synapse between it is cholesterol.
Taking statins actually affects you.
Correct.
What did he
What
say?
did he say?
He said taking statins affects dementia. It increases the rates of dementia.
Essential vitamins are important. The interrelationship between the protein diet that you advocate and potential not enough vitamins of certain sorts. Is there a relationship there to be considered?
I don't advocate that diet. I know about it, and I'm saying that the research backs it up. But even though I eat a mixed diet of plants and animals, I still take a daily vitamin. Because the quality of food that we get nowadays is so removed from farm to table than it used to be. And even at that, the ground itself doesn't have the nutrients in it that it used to have. So, yeah. Anyone?
To do with the table. I'm shattered that you said that collagen does not work. That's in my coffee every single morning. And I thought it was doing wonderful things for my nails, my hair, my skin. And I don't like hearing that, so I'll look at the research too.
Yes.
But how about those perfect aminos that you like so much? Can you put that in coffee without it tasting?
They have an unflavored one. They also have, I think it's like chocolate. I use a riboflavin cocoa powder. It's just like cocoa beans. It helps more. It's not really like collagen per se, but it makes the coffee taste like chocolate, sort of is my point. I don't know if you like that. So your collagen is completely tasteless? Yeah.
And it comes from grass-fed beef.
Price. Cha-ching, ching, ching, ching.
Yeah. The
I'll
other
pull
thing
that
is,
research paper for you, Ms. Stratton.
thank you, I'd
Yes,
appreciate that.
and I'll email it to you, so you don't have to look.
Is there only one?
Oh, no, there's, lots. Yes,
So we can research it too.
yes, absolutely.
Now, I'm loving what you're saying, I think, and I agree with so much of it. I don't like some of it, but I do agree with much of it. Okay, so we need you to make sure we get to eat that way here. This is the way we
Okay, she's done. I'm gonna move over to the table just to give you guys some ideas of the things that I brought, suggestions that I would make, and then we can open back up to a few more questions. That sound all right? Yeah. So, doing strength training, making some changes to your diet is gonna extend your life, your quality of life, and improve your numbers, bone density, muscle mass, things like that. Okay, naked pea. Ooh, I get to say naked. One serving of this, and I did say this disclaimer, it does not taste good. There is nothing in it to make it taste good. It tastes very earthy, would be my description of it. I don't need this. 27 grams of protein, 2 grams of sugar because it does come from a pea, right? It does have some carbohydrate in it. 2 carbs and 120 calories. That's one scoop.
How do you ingest it?
You put it in water or you put it in some kind of liquid and dilute it. You could put it in coffee probably. I don't know what it would taste like, and I certainly wouldn't do a whole scoop, but I mix it with water, I shake it up, I hold my nose, and I drink it. That's exactly what I do. And I try to use as little water as possible, so it's almost just like a protein shot. This is another one. This is a plant-based protein that you can get at Costco or H-E-B, anywhere. This is available online only that I know of. But this has some superfoods mixed in with it, because we talked about with plant-based, you gotta have other things. This has 8 grams of probiotics, 21 grams of plant protein, and only 1 gram of sugar. The ingredient list is long, but it's all a bunch of organic things. So when you look at it, it's not things you can't pronounce, fillers, chemicals, colorants, fake sweeteners. It doesn't have any of those.
How do you use that?
This is a powder also, so you would scoop it into some kind of a liquid.
Like, you could put it in cottage cheese?
You could sprinkle it in your cottage cheese. You could put it in your oatmeal.
So how does it taste? This
is a vanilla bean, so I use vanilla bean to sweeten it, so it's not like, I just ate a vanilla candy or something, but it has a light vanilla taste to it. It comes in other flavors too. I think the chocolate, they use actual cocoa beans. So if you've ever tasted cocoa or cocoa powder, it's got a chocolate taste to it, but it's not overly sweet. Tuna fish. This is Safe Catch. I like it because they check for mercury. Every can is checked for mercury. Deep water fish tend to have mercury poisoning. So this is a brand I recommend. This comes from Costco. One serving size is 3 ounces, which is half of a can is 26 grams of protein right there. 26 grams of protein in half of a can. So, and this is pretty cost effective, right? If I eat one of these cans a day, that's 50 grams of protein. That's probably gonna be half or close to half of your daily recommendation. Hard-boiled eggs. Be safe freeze range. That means that they are still in cages, unfortunately. I'm trying to think. Organic means that they ate food that doesn't have pesticides on it, still in cages. And it's not free range, it's pasture. Pasture raised means they're loose to run. But these are available at Costco. We don't have to get too crazy. 2 hard-boiled eggs is gonna give you 12 grams of protein. So pretty cost effective there too. I have 2 hard-boiled eggs every day. Chicken broth, I like this also. This is actually the organic sipping bone broth. Price difference, this is more expensive than just the other broth. But if you put this in a cup and you drink 8 ounces of it, you're gonna get 9 grams of protein. As it's getting colder, this is probably weird, but I like to put this in a coffee mug and warm it up and just sip on it. I find it very warming. You could put this in your oatmeal instead of water. I'm gonna give you options, right? You could mix your protein powder in this. If I make pasta for my son and my husband, we get it straight from Italy, so it's not sprayed with pesticides, but I boil it in chicken broth instead of using water because it adds some trace protein and flavor to it. But you can just drink this, you can mix it.
Lentils, beans.
Lentils and beans. The ones up here, I don't have any beans up here, but lentils, beans, those are all great sources of protein. You want to stick with organic because you're eating the skin of it, right? And look for ones that don't have added sugar or added ingredients.
Yeah, Carrie, can you tell me how much salt does it have?
This is very low sodium. This one has actually, per serving, it's 90 grams of sodium. Yeah. And they have another option that's organic that's even lower than that. Yeah. Now, I don't know who came to the hydration presentation that I did. You don't have to identify, it's okay. That same brand of the little electrolyte samples that I gave out, it's IQ. They make electrolytes and they make bars. These are plant-based protein. They're 12 grams of protein per bar. They're very soft, so they're palatable. I think they taste good. They come in a lot of different varieties. 1 gram of sugar, and this also has added in it lion's mane. Lion's mane, if you check the research, has done a lot for brain health. So we all need that, right? Yes, myself included for sure. If you look at the ingredients, it's just whole ingredients. It's a very short list. It does have stevia in it, but it's not a stevia blend. It's just straight from the plant stevia. So it's mildly sweet. You can buy this online. I think Amazon has it, but if you go to Amazon, you don't get the 40% off your first order. So.
Called IQ?
IQ bars, IQ nutrition, you'll find it. And I can make a list of all these if you guys want a list. I didn't even think to do that, so it's just kind of developing as I go along. Good old-fashioned sardines. Right? Come on, my grandfather used to feed me these. I thought it was the coolest thing. I was eating tiny little fish without heads. Right? They give me massive indigestion, but nonetheless, if you eat this whole can of sardines, you're going to get 22 grams of protein. Winner, winner, sardine dinner. And to these guys, I am not a salesperson for them. I don't make any money off of it. It's just a product that I advocate, that I use in my own house, that I recommend to people. This is the Perfect Amino. This is Perfect Amino with electrolyte mix. So this is the powder form. They make this without the electrolytes. So this is the capsule form, and this is the powder form. The capsules are about the size of a vitamin, and 5 of them is 1 serving. So if you struggle with swallowing pills, probably not the route you want to go. But the powder is the same thing. 1 scoop is the equivalent of 5 of these tablets, which is 1 serving. That 1 serving is the equivalent to 29 grams of whey protein, 15 grams of poultry or meat, and 10 grams of eggs with just 2 calories. Because it's not actually protein, it's branched chain amino acids. But your body will make the equivalent in protein that I just mentioned from this right here. So if you're fasting, you can take this before you go to the doctor because it doesn't affect the fasted state. If you're fasting because you fast for religious reasons, if you're fasting just because that's part of your diet, this does not break your fast. But what it does do, it keeps your body from leaching from your muscle the protein that it needs, so it stops sarcopenia, it stops that catabolism of the muscle that you have because you're giving your body what it needs right there.
Can you show us what is a scoop of the powder?
Yes.
How many servings do you get?
This is a 30 serving size. They have it up to 120. Yeah. Easily dilutable. You could do it in chicken broth. Isn't that fascinating? This comes from a company called Body Health. Body Health. Health. If you Google search perfect aminos, you'll find it. There's a gentleman, his name is Gary Brecka. He's a spokesperson for them and their products, but he was a human biologist, worked for life insurance company, and he was a mortality specialist. And so his 26 years of reading all these mortality reports and looking at underlying conditions, and they could predict the date you were going to die within 2 weeks. But he has a podcast, very informative, cutting edge stuff, new science, not jargon and stuff like that. But he's a great person to listen to and can really guide you. He talks about the cholesterol myth and some other things, but a great source of information.
What's his name again?
Gary Brecka, Breka. And by chance, if you missed the hydration presentation, it is recorded on there. So is the fall prevention clinic that John and I did together is recorded there. Not on there yet, but I think Keyshawn can add them because he's pretty talented. I did a recorded video of my balance core class that you could use at home in your comfort of your own home. And I also did a recording of the chair yoga class that I teach. And I'm going to add more videos as the time goes by. Also, coming in January will be new classes on the calendar. I'm going to wait till January to start them because I think this is a bad time to test if there's interest. But in December, what I will do are some pilot classes. So look for that too. So you can try it. It's not a repetitive every week kind of thing, but come and try it, see if you like it. We can make some tweaks to it to try to get more people into classes and more people into the gym. Sorry.
So, in all seriousness, Carrie, every month I give back $400 or more of dining dollars. I would love to see that in the Liberty Market on my dining dollars.
That is outside my scope to the degree of making any kind of decision like that. However, Akam and I are pretty good friends. I train his son, Marco, so I have his ear in a sense. I will definitely ask him about having them in the market. How they're paid for, that I can't promise you anything. But I can certainly ask him about making things like that available.
What are your strength training classes?
Currently, I have what's called advanced strength. Don't let that scare you because right now it's a mixed bag. Back several months ago, I did a beginner strength class also, and I'm going to be bringing that back in January. So there will be a 2-day-a-week beginner strength. That means anybody that can move, can sit in a chair, and can have a conversation can come to that class. You don't even have to have a conversation. Okay? And it will be adjusted based on what you present, what your abilities are, based on the weight, repetitions, that type of thing. Did I answer your question? Yes? Good?
What did you say you were gonna do in December?
I'm going to do some pilot classes, so there'll be samples of things that I'm going to bring onto the schedule in January. So there'll just be a one-time thing. Try it out, see if you like it, get some feedback, see how I can improve that for January when it actually goes on the calendar. Rodney? think young, Rodney D. Young.
There's a saying that too much of a good thing is not a good thing. Can you overload on protein?
Yes. Are you likely to do that? No. Just with anything, you can drink too much water, right? Hyponatremia. You can drink so much water that your cell wall starts breaking down because there's too much water and it goes across the transport, right? So anything you can overdo, certainly. But you would have to sit down and go, you know what? I'm going to eat a dozen eggs today just because I'm hungry.
See, I could
2 a day, if you can put 2 a day in your diet, that's going to increase your protein intake, and that's probably where most people would stop is 2 eggs a day on repetitively, because you have to keep doing that over and over and over and over again. Yeah. Yes.
Would you consider as a pilot program or one that's gonna come in January, where you could do like a healthy eating and a weigh-in class where it could help us to try maybe lose weight, but if it's kind of like a Weight Watchers, but it would be healthy eating, and if we weigh in once a week, that's motivational for me too. But if you could combine that with healthy eating, maybe some of us could join that and get our healthy.
I think that's a fabulous idea, and I can certainly make that work. I have a really nasty scale upstairs that I've never had the opportunity to use. It's not the one you normally use, it just gives you the little number. I know you guys put it on kilograms, right? Like, oh, I'm only 84 pounds. It will actually approximate body fat percentage also. So you take your shoes and socks off, you stand on it, arms out to the side. It's not 100% accurate, however, if you measure under the same circumstances, the same time of day, same bladder, it's going to be a guide. So, and it also shows you muscle mass and body water. So it'll speak to those things as well. Yeah, I'll work on that. No, I'm not considering it, I'm going to do it. So you're signed up already. You are going to be there. All right.
So you have a good relationship with our dining committee. Perhaps you could encourage them to add the macronutrient counts for the entrees.
I will mention that to my friend. Yes.
So on those scales that give you muscle mass and body mass and water,
Yep.
you would say then that those are fairly accurate.
I would say that within a margin of error, and what that margin of error is printed out. I can read it off their website. But then too, like for myself, I have 2 metal hips. If you have different things, but the point is that it gives you a baseline. And then your baseline is going to be the line that we want to see. If we're not seeing a drop in body fat, then it's not happening. Does that make sense? Whether or not the number's 100% accurate to begin with. So I'd say it's a good tool. Yes.
What's your opinion or take on breakfast cereals? No sugar breakfast, but no fat milk and Wheaties or Cheerios, something like that. Good, bad?
You want me to tell you? The American Heart Association logo on the Cheerios box is bought and paid for.
Figures.
That cereal, any of those cereal boxes, even the ones that don't have the colorants and whatever, it is just garbage. It will make your blood sugar go through the roof. And there's no nutrients in it. Even when they throw in, like they got, well, we added vitamin D or this, that, the other thing, you'd be best to take a supplement to get the vitamin that you want than to eat that box of cereal.
Shredded wheat? No
It
different?
doesn't matter. You can name them all down the line. If it comes from Kellogg's or Nabisco or any of those places, save your money. To speak to a particular diet, keto is similar to Atkins. It's kind of like the carnivore diet, right? High fat, low carbohydrate. I say whatever it is that you decide to do, stick to something. Cutting out processed food is your best bet. Sticking with whole foods. Keeping the carbohydrate count low, the protein intake high, and you'll do much better. Really? Is that a real question? Soda water. I would even go a stretch to say that any kind of liquid calories, anything that has liquid sugar in it, you're not doing yourself any favors. The body doesn't register that, so your satiety, right? Do I still feel hungry? And it's just liquid sugar. So why would you want to get any of your calories that way? Drink water, drink tea, drink infused water. Drink things that have no calories, and then eat the calories that you need from your diet and make them nutritious. Yes, sir.
What's your opinion on grits?
A grit is just like an oatmeal. A grit on the side of a good protein source, not too bad. You're gonna make your grits with chicken broth, add some protein to it, good. But let's just remember what it is. It's either a carbohydrate, a protein, or a fat, and a grit is a carbohydrate. So, what's that? It is plant-based.
Corn.
Yeah, well, we could get into genetically modified things and corn and what that does to the body too, but again, that's a whole other presentation as well. Your best to make sure you eat protein with every meal, sir, and make that carbohydrate serving small and the protein the primary. Yes?
Well, I guess that just answered my question, because we've been told for years our protein was supposed to be the size of a deck of cards, and the rest was supposed to be vegetables.
Okay. If you do protein the size of a deck of cards and the rest is vegetables, low carbohydrate vegetables, that's great. But what happens is it's a deck of cards and a pot of potatoes and a thing of mac and cheese or and a roll, and that's not the same thing. So, I got time for 2 more questions. Who's it gonna be?
No, it's
Ah.
No, it's just a personal. I love whey protein, and you said it's not very digestible. So if you're drinking a smoothie, a whey protein that says it's 30 grams of protein, do you have any idea how much you're actually getting?
It's like 10.
Like 10 grams.
Don't quote me on that, but it's like 10.
So it's about a third of
Yes.
what they say.
So you're paying for all that protein, but what you're actually utilizing is way less than that. An isolate is going to be best because it's broken down to a smaller level so that it's more bioavailable.
Okay.
Yeah. And it comes in a powder form too. Anyone? Going once? Going twice?
What about cheese?
Cheese is like your peanut butter. It's more of a fat source than it is a protein. There is some protein in it. I eat cheese. I just minimize the amount of it that I have. All right, so if there's a choice of a salad that's loaded with cheese, I take the cheese off. If I want to sit down and have cheese and crackers with a friend, I'll do that. But just to sprinkle cheese on everything, I wouldn't do that.
When you're having cheese and crackers.
Yes, I have wine too. I know. It's the sugar, it's a carbohydrate, and on top of that, alcohol. Your body, it's 9 calories per gram. So it's higher than protein, it's higher than carbohydrates, and it's even higher than fat. Fat's 7. So it's very high in calories, and your body cannot store the calories from alcohol. It has to prioritize them. It has to burn them first. So anything else that you're ingesting along with that alcohol, it gets packaged and stored as body fat. Yeah. And the alcohol can take some time, right? Your body can only process so much, so depending on how much you drink, it can stop your fat burning for up to 24 hours.
So just dump a sardine in it.
Dump a sardine in there! Bloody Mary with a sardine.